So I see an article on Yahoo Finance. Today is Saturday, June 13, 2015. It says, even coin collectors have given up on gold. So the Yahoo Finance, the most mainstream of the mainstreamiest, is dissing gold right now. And from my experience and my noticing that when a Yahoo Finance article feels bold enough to comment on the marketplace, a reversal happens. For example, if Yahoo Finance says stocks are never going down, they're going up forever and ever and ever, there's often a pullback. That doesn't mean the greater trend is wrong. Like on Yahoo Finance, it says even coin collectors have given up on gold. This often, but not always, signals a reversal. Now, this doesn't mean that gold is going to the moon. It just means that in the short term, they're going to be wrong. The greater trend may not be broken, but in the short term, there could be a reversal because that ominous chart that says that gold's going under 1,000 or gold's going under 900 is out there. And it's on everybody's mind. Everybody, right? Unless you are totally clueless, everybody who I talk to here, we're all aware of that chart. We're all aware of it. Some deny it. Some supply it, right? They supply the charts on their pages. But we're all aware of that chart, right? We know it exists. And we know that the odds say it's more likely going to happen than not going to happen. And this formation has been there for years. And is it all just too easy? I mean, the markets are just so easy. We know for sure that gold's going under 1,000, right? So we can all just bet everything on shorting gold and be rich, right? I mean, that's how it works, right? I mean, because we're all so certain that gold's going under 1,000, why not just sell everything and short gold? I mean, why not, right? Because we know that that's a recipe for disaster, right? We know how timing works. We know how things don't always work as expected. So, I mean, right now, this gold under 1,000 is on everybody's mind who's in my blogosphere. Maybe there are some other locations, corners on the internet that are not aware of this forecast, but I think we're all aware of this because this gold, the sub-1,000 gold, has been prognosticated for years because the chart's setting up a pattern. So my big question, this is the big question, was there ever a reason for gold to be this high in the first place, right? A few years ago, the answer would be a simple yes for a lot of people. The reason exists. Was there ever a reason for gold 1,400? Was there ever a reason for gold 1,600? Was there ever a reason for gold 1,900? Because they happened. Was that because it was a speculative bubble based upon nothing? Or was there actually a fundamental reason underlying the gold bull market that happened from like 2001 to 2011? For 10 years, it went straight up every year. Was there a real reason for that? Or was that all just nonsense? That's the big question. I think most people who invest in precious metals, what would cause them to hold or to sell is if there was an underlying reason in the first place. And what's happening right now is there were explanations that were completely false for the metals going up. And if the people bought on that alone, I suspect they're going to sell and they might sell in a panic. But was there ever a real reason? I know guys like Eric Jansen on iTulip said that the central banks have some kind of formula, and he predicted that because of this formula, the central banks' percentage of their holding will be in gold, and therefore this creates floors and this creates demand. And I mean, he had this nice theory, but his theory in the last few years grossly mispredicted what the price of gold would do. Because here we are at under 1,200 when a lot of the models these people have weren't correct. I mean, they can say, yes, the model was correct, but I had one wrong assumption in the model. Well, using that logic, I mean, that starts getting gray. It's like, well, yeah, my formula is all right except for the part where I multiply it times 0. And then it was wrong, right? That kind of thing. It's like, saying the formula is correct except for this one portion, so we're just going to tweak it. I mean, you start getting into gray areas here about that. But really, I remember back when gold hit like 1,050, and that's when India bought tons and tons of gold, and the price skyrocketed because central banks were net buyers of gold. So there was something that was buying these central banks, and obviously they don't just tell the public, "Hey, we're central banks. This is exactly why we're doing what we're doing, and we're telling all of you." No, they have confidentiality in their operations, where the people doing stuff, they're not shouting out to the world, "Hey, guess what? We're doing this." They're buying, and before they buy, they're not telling anybody they're going to buy. And when they buy, they're not telling anybody why they're going to buy. And when they sell, they don't tell anybody they're going to sell. They just make their purchases, and that's how most people operate. Except for small retail investors, it seems that most people don't tell the public, "Hey, this is what we're doing." And in fact, it seems the reverse is happening. When it comes to guys like Sprott, it's like when they buy, they tell the public the opposite of what they're going to do because they want to misinform the public because they want to get a better deal or a better trade. So really, when it comes to people buying and selling, it's really hard to know. I mean, what I want to say is that you have to try and figure out why they're buying and selling. Or another school of thought says you don't care why they're buying and selling. So what I'm getting to is, I think a lot of people are trying to assess, was there really ever a reason for gold to go up? I know there was a guy who was writing a dissertation a few years ago in a university in Europe on the silver market. And he was telling me, based upon his research, the reason for gold going up was that there were many large entities, especially governments, who were looking for a way to go around the dollar, so they're using gold. And then he said, well, maybe they kind of abandoned that prospect, and they're not using gold anymore to go around the dollar. So that's really one of the real things is, are there parties in the world who are wishing to go around the dollar? Because if you're not going to use the dollar for your international transactions, then what are you going to use? A lot of these other currencies may not make sense. But a fluctuating price of gold that goes like this might not make sense. However, because gold really isn't used for these large transactions, if it were, it would make the price of gold higher. So in that case, you might see, well, gold's been between 240 and 1900 over like a 10-year period, but that was before gold was used for international transactions, like on a monetary scale. And if that was the case, maybe 1900 gold would appear cheap. I'm getting into speculation mode here, because really, the real thing is, was there ever really a reason for this thing, for gold to go for 1900? And of course, when I say gold, I mean precious metals as a group, because gold's the driver of the precious metals, because gold is the only precious metal that is used in a monetary manner, and it's been that way for a long time. I mean, silver was used in coinage, but it was really in the late 1800s when silver was demonetized. That's what I mean. And my final point is that, wow, rhodium is under 1,000. Rhodium has taken a beating. And it seems that because rhodium is speculated less than the regular precious metals, that's, I think, more significant because there's less speculators in rhodium, and rhodium is more subject to the supply and demand in the physical world marketplace than gold and silver, because gold and silver are bought a lot as a monetary metal. Now, of course, even though silver isn't monetized, people are buying it with a monetary idea in their head that it will be used as money. So yeah, my final point is, was there ever really a reason for gold to go this high? That's the big question. If you can answer that question, I think you'll have an idea of where it will go. And I think that will be the determinant of someone who tries to time the bottom or not. So thanks for watching, and be well.